Hey everyone, today we have the pleasure of having Pedro, who is the founder and CEO of InEvent on our show. InEvent is one of the world's leading platforms for virtual and hybrid events with big name clients like Coca-Cola and Amazon. They are also Y Combinator alumni for the summer 2019 cohort. Now, what's really interesting here is Pedro is coming from Brazil and has successfully broken into the US and international markets. So I think everyone listening in will get a lot of value from this conversation. That said, Pedro, welcome.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much. And it's great to be here and share some insights, if I can, and talk a little about how we became a global company.
Yeah, absolutely. Super excited to have you. Thank you for coming on the show. Let's dive right in. Pedro, talk to me about the founding story. How did you found InEvent?
Yeah, so InEvent, we started in 2019. Me, Vinny, and Mauricio, we met in college. We were studying together. And we decided to come up with, software projects. That's what we're doing. And then for 4 years, we worked together. That was in South America at that time. But we found many, many challenges when working. Scaling the process was difficult. I think there are some certain types of products that work well, depending on where you're located. That's something that I learned over time. If you get a specific model and you try to add that in a specific country, sometimes it doesn't work. You need to have specific types of business, to work well in a specific place. There are markets specific for what you're selling. So we're definitely not selling the right software for where we're based. That was our biggest issue. So we grew the company a little bit. Like from 2013 and 2017, 18. We had our first business. We grew to like 15 employees and we were doing a bit like $500,000 in revenue, which was okay, after 4 or 5 years, but was not, it was just a small business at the time. So 2019, we decided, we really wanted to sell SaaS software, like software as a service is our thing. That's what we're inspired by and everything.
Right.
And we realized that was not the market to sell this in South America. So we decided, let's go to where, people understand software as a service. And then we realized this was America, right? So we moved to America in 2019 and we started a new company InEvent this time. And then the journey has been great. We have grown significantly. The market's ready for, a software-based solution and, that they buy recurrently and everything. Of course, there are some issues, but all the systems are built for, people are part of culturally, they're very, very acceptable of this model. So it has been much easier to grow and hire people and, bring new clients. Yeah.
Gotcha. So you started this in 2019 and that was before COVID, but you were already building like this platform for virtual and hybrid events. Was it always going to be virtual and hybrid events or did you pivot because of COVID?
So we always thought that we love ephemeral. So there are two base things on the event thought process when we were working on our first solution. Is that the first one is that we love video. Like we think the video, it's a different experience when you have like a webcam on the computer and you have a 4K camera. So I have a 4K camera here. So we saw, people talk about what the trends of the future. People talking about the metaverse or 3D or like. We think those things are just, a gimmick. We don't really believe in them. What we really think is going to be the future, it's 5G and the power of miniaturization. So chipsets that really go anywhere. Because this 4K camera, for example, you could not have that 10 years ago. You could not have this quality. I'm traveling and I still have a 4K camera that I can easily deploy anywhere, right? So this is very, very impactful and we believe a lot on it. So that's one of the biggest trends that we believed when we started InEvent, like how you can take very good quality video anywhere these days. And why is still like, why do we have poor video quality everywhere? Everyone sees the 4 web camera. So that was one of the biggest trends. The second thing is people have been telling that TV sucks. That TV, nobody watches TV anymore, that the millennials are not using TV. And we thought, that's not really true. A lot of millennials that love TV. It's just that they don't like ads, but they love TV. So we thought we should bring TV to the web, to YouTube, to the live streams, to the webinars, to the virtual events. So those were our two big ideas, high video quality and TV-like experiences. And that's what the company was about. And that's what we started to work with. And then the pandemic came and was actually, accelerated the process a little bit. But the vision has not changed, since before the pandemic or through the pandemic. Yeah.
Awesome. Interesting. So tell me a little bit more about how it was like when you first, you landed in the States and you're building this. What were some of the challenges you faced, and what were some of the lessons you learned early on?
Yeah, so I think the first lesson that I got that was really hard, it was you have really to commit, because we had a business, in South America, like another business. And we're like, oh, this business is generating a little bit of money, so we should keep this business running while we create this new business in event in America, this new company. But that was really hard, and one thing that I learned is that you really have to commit. Like if we decided then, like after 6 months, to close this previous company that we had,
Wow.
and, customers are not really happy like with the service already. So we decided just to close this. And I think that was a lesson learned, like if you already have something, if you're coming from anywhere else and you come to America, don't really put any attention at all on everything that came from if you have any other business somewhere, just focus 100% on developing and growing your business in America. I think that was a hard learned lesson that we had. The second thing is everything's expensive, it's very expensive. So
Yeah.
you really got to be, again, committed, like in terms of it's going to be really rough in the beginning, in terms of like you're going to have no resources, like you have no money to pay for cell phones, or you got to find Wi-Fi everywhere, you got to travel. Housing is expensive right now, so you got
Yeah.
to really find a lot of places and be transiting. So how do you have a meeting in a silent place if you do not really have proper housing? So all those things were really expensive in the beginning, so we had to find creative solutions to really deploy a high quality value product in the beginning. But then after that, things really started to go really well. We went through this very initial phase of 6 to 12 months. That was really hard. But then things really started to launch because customers were happy with the service and the product. And as a SaaS solution, the recurrency was also kicking in. Yeah.
So what do you think was the cause of, things starting to turn around? Was it just that, you're able to get enough customers, now you're getting some revenue in, and that's what it was? Or did you raise funding? Like what turned it around?
So funding was not really necessary. The funding part for us that was good is that we got credibility, because before that, nobody knew about InEvent. And then we got the Y Combinator stamp, saying InEvent's Y Combinator. And that allowed us to go to customers or explain, like, we have VCs that have backed InEvent. So customers trusted InEvent more because of that. So I think the credibility part was more important for us than the money. So that was something regarding the funding. Overall, I think what really happened is that we had a product that the business model was very clear. Like we had our pricing, we had how we're going to sell this and everything. And we really worked on the referrals. So when customers came up and they were with InEvent for 3 or 6 months, we really had a call with them and we asked them, how can I help you more? Or is there anyone else that can help you? Or is there someone else that can benefit from this product? And we asked that to them and they said, like, here are 3 people that can benefit from this product. So we started to really build a referral network of people that, trusted InEvent and they were willing to refer us and grow from there. And then our model, SaaS is very, profitable. So the funding and the model just paid itself over time. What we just needed was people that trusted InEvent were willing to put good testimonials out, and that was the good thing for us. Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah, I think that is so understated, and especially in like this whole startup world, because investors, they're looking for, revenue. How's your revenue doing? Sales. How many new sales are you getting? But, something, and this is something I've been learning more and more about recently too, it's that like revenue expansion from your existing customers is actually more important to product market fit than revenue, like new revenue or customer acquisition. Right? It's like, of course you have to get customers. Of course you need to do that. But eventually you need to be turning those existing customers into more revenue. Either they're upgrading, they're giving you referrals. So I'm really glad that you mentioned that, because I feel like that's something that a lot of founders don't actually put their focus on. And then I would say, like, those customers also help you with the feedback, right? Like they tell you they affect your product roadmap, right? What's working well, what's not working well, and all of that kind of feedback I think is very important. So glad to hear you were doing those customer interviews early on.
Exactly. I think there is a blog that I can recommend. I'm just getting here the reference so I can show you. So there is Winning by Design. They're like an advisor to one of our investors. They're really good. Yako talks about this, and they have a chart that shows the different types of acquisition models, So I don't know if I can show. I'm not going to show what they do because it's probably their stuff. So I don't want to be like, oh, you're like
Right.
using it on my behalf or something, right? But I can tell that their stuff is really good, and they have this blog post that talks about the different growth models, and it's a public post, and it really shows like there is the most entry model, which is like very cheap, which is like help desk. Like you need to be able to sell your product for $100 a month, and you cannot have an account executive or anyone doing this process. Yeah. It needs to be very affordable process. And then there is the second stage, which is you have just one person, and there's this 2-stage model, which is another model, which is you basically have an SDR that books the calls, and then you have an account executive doing that. And there is the fourth model, which is field sales. So you have an account executive that focus on specific accounts, and then that's one thing is ABM. So 5, that changes the complexity and the price, right? So I think that's very, very important for the business, that whenever you're building, is finding what's the price point that you have, the complexity that your software needs, so you can target that specific volume. What I'm saying is, if your product's too complex, and sometimes it's complex, like let's say you're drilling gas in the middle of the Pacific Ocean,
right,
complex software, right? You cannot charge $100 for it. You need to charge $500,000. It's a very complex thing. You need to train people and install these there, and it's not going to be a lot of customers. So I think the most important things for us was not like this part around like, should we expand accounts or not? It really depends on how much your price point or the software do. So you can fit in one of those 5 business models, growth strategies. So because sometimes they say like, I have 10,000 customers. I don't know 10,000 customers that are gas and oil companies,
Yeah,
so
exactly.
It really depends on which of those 5 are going to fit you in. So we are more in the field sales kind of type. Like we need to charge more because our software is complex. We do a lot of things. It's really good, but it's definitely requires some training and implementation from our side. So we need to charge more, and we can definitely expand more, because those accounts that you have fewer clients, you can definitely expand them more. It's more important expansion on those accounts than on the help desk model. Yeah.
Fair enough. I see what you're saying. Yeah. Like with the business model, the way that I kind of think about it, and I've learned it, is like, there's a self-serve model, there's a transactional, which is like 2,000 to 10,000, annual contract value. And then like anything above like 25 or 30,000 a year is kind of like that enterprise level, where you're going to need a dedicated customer success manager or an account manager to, hold the customer's hand, check in with them, upsell, so on and so forth. So no, that's a very good point that you bring up. Now, Pedro, along this journey, how did you kind of like learn all of this? Like, I guess Y Combinator, that was a big source. But talk to me a little bit about the mentorship you received throughout.
Yeah. So one thing that we learned is that, you got to really you really got to figure out the business model. That's for me is the most important part. One thing that I've learned from our people that helped us, like we have advisors, like our investors, and also people that help us. We have Endeavor also as they help us. It's very good for growth. Endeavor, we are with Endeavor Atlanta.
Okay.
What they told us is direction is more important than speed, right? And that's so true, because if you build a model that's like you're putting a lot of ads or events and a lot of sponsorships or something that is not the right direction for the product that you want to sell, it doesn't matter how quick you're going to this direction. You gotta really find the right direction for your product, where you think which country you're going to sell this in, which location, how you're going to sell this to customers, what's going to be the renewal model, how much you're going to charge, what's the implementation like. That's more important to find the right direction for the product than it is to just, poor speed if you do not have direction. And we learned that the hard way. Like we had customers that were not in the right direction, and we lost them, even though we spent a lot of money to get them, and because it was not the right direction for us, for example.
Yeah, fair enough. I think it's important to know exactly who is, just as much you need to know who your ideal customer profile is, your ICP, but also everyone that doesn't fit that. That's not the best customer. They might sign up, but they're not going to be in that revenue expansion pool. They might even churn a lot, right? So I think learning to say no to customers is one of the biggest challenges I feel like founders face, especially early on.
Yeah. I mean, say no if that doesn't fit your business model, like come up with the business model that you have. By business model, I mean like how much your price gonna charge, like what are the cost units of like what do you sell? You sell seats, you sell registrations, you sell licenses. What do you sell? How much do you sell this for? What are the renewal policies? Do you have implementation? Put all of this like very clear on the website and a calculator, whatever. And say no to customers that do not fit this model. That's the thing. If you say no just for also random reasons, also I think doesn't make sense. I think you just gotta have your model and like say this is my model. Either you come to this model or you find another competitor. Or, I don't know. Yeah, do your thing.
Yeah. And being okay saying that, I think that's such a challenge for a lot of founders, but it's so important. So I'm really glad that you mentioned that as well. So Pedro, let's move on. Let's talk a little bit about the product itself. With Inevent, what are kind of like the top 3 or the main problems you're solving today for your customers?
Yeah. So first thing is the live studio, the product that we create the experience of, high-end streaming. So today, if you're going to put a high-end streaming, let's think about the Super Bowl, right? You have to put a lot of hardware together. It's very expensive to run. And customers usually they have so many different software. There's no single software to do that because they need to, use Microsoft Teams or Zoom to capture the video from different speakers or the cameras. You need to have an editing software to edit all of this and put captions and put accessibility and put sign language and put the, the captions that appear on TV. All of that is like 3 or 4 different teams. And then you got to have another software to stream out to all the different providers, like to satellite or just to social networks or to your website or, So all of these we're talking about, a team of, 4 or 5 teams live plus an additional array of, 10 to 40 different software that you need to use. So what we came up with, the Live Studio, is just a way to streamline this. How do you get the input, the output, and the editing in the same software all in real time? So we wanted to deploy the Live Studio in the same way that cameras have become smaller over time. We also want to put the setup needed to have a high-end experience to be also easier to transport and everything. So that's the Live Studio for professionals and also event managers. So that's a product that we have built. The second thing is accessibility. It's a big problem today because nobody really cares about accessibility. I think only Apple cares about accessibility. If you go to webinars, there are no captions. There are no translations.
Yeah, that's true.
There are no sign languages. There is nothing. So it's a very big problem that nobody is paying attention to. I think, nobody really is paying attention to this. So we really wanted to solve that out for our customers in a very easy way. So we have worked on products to do that. And the third thing is integrations. Also people do not pay attention to integrations on their platforms when doing lead generation. So they think about events as an experience. It's a nice experience, but they don't think about lead generation. They don't think about automating the whole lead generation process. So we put those 3 things together. That's Inevent. That's what customers are using us for. Accessibility, integrations, automation, and definitely the TV experience to automate their growth. Yeah,
that's amazing. Cool. And what does the future look like for you? Now we're coming out of the pandemic. Virtual and hybrid events, I think, are definitely here to stay. And I mean, your vision was this from even before the pandemic. So how do you see the future of these kind of events?
Well, I think that's going to be great. The events are shifting so much. People are staying at home more, so they really want to have these experiences. But also people are having a trend of, shorter attention spans, right? Like you used to go to an event for 3 days and that was okay. People don't do this anymore. I can donate my time of like 20 minutes to a company to pay attention to their webinar and that's it, maybe 30 minutes, right?
Yeah.
Nobody's going to give you like 3 days to do that anymore. So what we are seeing is that content's more frequent and the format is quicker using either social media like TikTok, Instagram and such. The content's more specific and more frequent. The ratio of the experience, like what's the quality of the visuals of the presentation, also much higher. So there are multiple trends going on that direction for video streaming and etc. Also, we are seeing that people are getting used to the fact that they actually need to have an experience that they can go anywhere. So sometimes you buy on Amazon, you can return in person, you can return through mail. It's the same thing with events. People want to If they want to go in person, they have this option. If they want to go virtually, they have this option. So this is what people want, the power of choice. So these are two big trends that we see, in terms of video and customer choice and when it comes to events and live streaming. Yeah.
Got it. Awesome. Great. So Pedro, before we wrap up here, I wanted to know, what is one piece of advice you can provide to our listeners who are maybe going through that 6 to 12 month, phase where it's just tough in the early stages of building a company?
I work on your business model first. Come up with a business model, how you sell your product and everything, and then just focus on it. Try to get customers that really see the problem that you have for your business model you're solving, and work with your clients to get referrals. If that's the model that fits what you're looking for. So basically, my advice is understand which growth strategy you're gonna go. I'm going to refer on the here on the chat or something. You can post this growth model from Yaku. I think that's very good. So people can take a look and come up with a.
Yeah, that's great. And for everyone listening in, I'll post this link in the description of the podcast.
Yeah, so take a look, see how you're gonna have your model. No model is right or wrong. Sometimes you're going to have to focus more on acquisition. Sometimes you're going to have to focus more on current customers, right? Really see what the model is based on your pricing, right? Once you have defined that, take the decisions based on that model. If you are on help desk mode, just acquire a lot of customers, because that's what the bottom line is going to be for. If you are a very expensive solution, focus on expanding current accounts. So you're going to be able to deliver more customers success and so, right? So it really depends on what's your GTM model. That's the most important part. There's also something else that I recommend. Is from one of my investors. It's an excellent book from T. He invested on us. A disclaimer. But it can be really, really good book from.
This is amazing. You're giving us gold right now.
Yeah. So T wrote this book, Survival to Thrival. It's very good. It's a 2-volume book, but it's really, really good. I recommend that you buy it, and also tell T that he bought from my referral. So, but it talks about, understanding your model. It's about you. So it's not about, preset, rules for how to save the world. It's something that you have to read and understand your model. And they explain how to do that, you're going to read, and then they have a hands-on process of saying for this, do that, so you can understand and grow your company. Yeah.
That sounds very interesting. I think I'm going to take a look at that as well for my own company. So that's awesome. Perfect. Thank you so much, Pedro. And for all of our listeners, if they want to connect with you, where can they find you?
You can connect with me on LinkedIn. I'm there. I post content every week. And if you want to connect or follow Inevent on LinkedIn, social media is where we are. We are always posting, stuff, and we have a lot of free content. So we want to help people grow and, grow with live streaming, and that's what we do. But also we post about other stuff. Yeah. So
perfect.
That's where we're at.
Perfect. Thank you so much for coming on the show, Pedro.
Thank you. Thanks, Sean. Yeah.